My name is John Does Warhammer, and welcome back to another episode of Good Enough Minis. I got this new terrain set from the Blood and Zeal box that came out for Kill Team not too long ago, and I just wanted to make a video on it showing how I managed to paint this in less than an hour. It's a real easy recipe. All you're going to need are 4 paints. That's literally it, just 4. You're going to need Stegadon Scale Green, Balthasar Gold, Retributor Armor, as well as Nihilakh Oxide. So starting with the Stegadon Scale Green, this is going to be our base coat for the entire statue. What we're going for is a bronze statue with the beginning stages of oxidization, something like this photo here, but not as green. This is going to be a really new bronze statue that was just set up. But you're going to want to get this all the way from the skulls all the way up onto the wings. And don't forget to get in between the toes. So here I am just finishing up this Stegadon Scale Green. This base coat does not have to be perfect because this is about to be completely buried. So don't worry about, getting a solid base coating. You just need to get the paint on there as fast as possible. Next, I have this large makeup brush, and we're just going to do a dry brushing of Balthasar Gold on the entire thing. And immediately you can see how the Stegadon Green goes with the copper to really give it that early oxidization look. One day I learned how to make my camera not focus on my fingers. So you can really see on the wings specifically how well this technique does. Right, honestly, you could just leave it with just these 2 colors. A little too blue for my taste, but we'll fix that up in a bit. And that's that. I mean, it already looks amazing. If you really wanted to, you could just leave it here as is. Like I said, it's just a little too blue for me to call this finish, but I think it looks really great with just those 2 colors. But to really give it that worn, oxidized look, we're going to use Nihilakh Oxide? Nihilakh Oxide? I have no idea how to actually say it. And basically, we're going to kind of use it as a wash and go towards the deepest creases on the statue itself. You could just use it as a wash and just hit the entire model, but having a more focused look where rain would collect really helps pronounce the details. Like I said, you could easily just cover the entire model if you wanted to just kind of waste paint, because most of it's going to be covered up after this stage. So when you get down to the cloth cape dress thing, just follow the folds of the clothing. I think that's the best way to do this. and just kind of gives you a guideline of where water would be flowing on the statue as it rains. And as for the wings here, for the small feathers, I used it like a wash, right? I wasn't too worried about getting it on the high-rise details. But once I got to the larger feathers, I was specifically just trying to get it in between each of the feathers. But like I said, once you're at the small area, just hit it like a wash. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't click off the video just yet. We're going to clean this up. It does look like I completely ruined this model, but I promise this is a recipe where you have to trust the process. Now, if you were going for an older copper look, I would just add a few more layers of oxide, probably just over the entire model, and leave it as is, and that'll give you that really old Statue of Liberty look, but that's not what I'm going for. So we're going to actually go back to Balthasar Gold and do another dry brush on the entire model. And basically what this is going to do is that this is going to paint over the oxide that is on the flat raised surfaces to make the statue look like it's rather new and it has been in the rain for, you know, a couple months, maybe a year or two, and it has begun the process of oxidization. You can really see how well this method works on the wings here specifically. You can see that the oxide just immediately goes away, but stays within the crevices of the feathers. And this is what it looks like with just the paints that we used so far, and I think it looks great, and you could, once again, leave it here, but I want to add one more paint to really make the statue stand out. We're going to use Retributor armor, and what we're going to do is that we're going to use this to focus on the most raised parts of the statue where the sun would be directly reflecting on it to give it a really bright glow. So when you're doing this, basically, when you're flicking your brush up and down, you want to only bring your brush down. Don't flick it back up onto the model, right? Because it's going to leave those shadows underneath details. And here I am right now, completely ignoring my own advice and flicking up and down on the flame here. But hey, what can you do? So at this point, I cleaned up the base with Mechanicus Standard Gray, and we're going to use Dawnstone, and once again, just dry brush the entire pedestal. So you can see almost immediately, comparing this with the other sides of the pedestal, you can see how just one quick dry brush, like 2-second dry brush, really makes these details stand out and look more like stone. So I really wanted these small statues to stand out more among the rest of the pedestal. So what I did is that I took gray Seer and took a very tiny bit and dry brushed it onto just these statues. And you can see how that they pop out from the rest of the base and really highlights them. This is what terrain painting is all about, is finding little methods to make it as quick as possible while still looking great on the tabletop. Because the last thing that you want to do is sit there and just edge highlight every tiny little stone statue. You'll go insane and you'll never actually finish any of your terrain pieces. So while we have gray Seer out, what we're going to do is that we're going to base coat the candles, both the base of the candles as well as the flames at the top. So while I was painting these, I had problems getting behind the candles without accidentally painting on the skulls, and I really did not want to ruin that copper. So if you look at the train piece and you really zoom in, you can see where the back of the candles are still just a little gray. But nobody's going to see that, so don't even worry about it. And lastly, we're going to use a contrast paint, Iyanden yellow. Iyanden yellow. I have no idea, man. It's the yellow contrast paint. And we're just going to pick out the little flames at the candle here. These first few ones, I put a little too much on, and I went back and picked up the contrast paint with a dry brush. However, you could leave a thicker layer on, and it gives that like orange to yellow transition, which I think looks really good for candles. And that is literally it for this terrain piece. This recipe is super easy to follow. This show is about teaching you how to get really good looking models out on the tabletop as quickly as possible with techniques or cheats, whatever you want to call them, to make you look like a better painter than you actually are. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see other models that I've painted using my techniques. I'll leave a link in the description, but you can just look up John Does Warhammer and you'll find me. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.